What is up, everyone? Welcome to another edition of Live Locks presented by Scores and Odds. If you haven't checked it out already, just making bad life choices, go on over to scoresandodds.com. Get signed up where you got picks from me, Analytics, Capper, Meansy, Noto, all the greats. Plus, you get access to this nice little prop shopping tool where it tells you exactly where the best lines are and what RG projects. And you get access to Grant's Action Lounge over in Discord. Just go to scoresandodds.com/Discord. And I have every single one of my bets. I drop them in as I bet them. So you get the best lines every single day. Every single bet you see on the show is in there. So go get signed up. I am joined again today by someone who I'm probably going to have to owe some beers if the Avalanche win the Stanley Cup. Analytics Capper. How you doing over there, AC?
I'm doing great, man. Happy Monday. Yeah, let's hit that bet. And I'm an expensive drunk, man. So we're gonna drink some good beer, some good liquor for sure.
All right, sounds good to me. And I have no problem with good beer, good liquor, good wine. I'm happy with all of them. So yeah, no problem with that at all. Plus, we'll have $1,750 to blow. I mean, I've lost a little bit on the Avalanche since then. I went to game 4, last round. Just got obliterated drunk at the DK suite and decided, like, as soon as it went to overtime, you know what? I'm gonna throw in $1,000 on the Avalanche to win. Of course, they did not. So those free suite tickets actually ended up costing me a decent amount of money. But you know what? Things happen.
It's all right. DK's paid you enough.
Yeah, no, I'm not arguing with that at all. And hopefully that gets me into the Stanley Cup game or two. So I'm going to try and get tickets to that. We'll see what DK can help me out with. But what do you want to start out with, hockey or baseball?
Yeah, let's do hockey. There's only one game tonight on the slate for those hopping on. Colorado, aforementioned Avalanche versus the Oilers tonight. Avalanche up 3-0. They're still in Edmonton. Grant, I'll start with you. How are you feeling about this game?
Don't know much about hockey. I just bet a bunch of money on it. My main thing was I was going to tell you my bets and get your input on it and see if I pronounce the names correctly. Mikko Rantanen over
Not bad.
A goal. Plus 125 over at MGM. I don't know. Offshore likes it, so I bet it.
Yeah, I mean, the Avalanche in general. They've just been eating up all the shots in the first 3 games. I don't have the exact numbers in the front of me, but I bet they've had more than 50% more shots than the Oilers. I do see this continuing to happen. I kind of see a high scoring affair tonight, so I do like that. If I like high scoring, I'm gonna like over on shots on goals props. So yeah, I like that. I vibe with it.
Yeah, well, so going to that, I have the over of 8 goals, the alt over, plus 220 over at MGM. I mean, we've had some high-scoring games so far, if I remember correctly. Getting plus 220 odds at just 1 goal over the projected total right now. I think that's a pretty solid bet. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the previous game went under. Previous game was 4-2. Game before that was 4-0. Game 1, right, was where all the goals were 8-6. 14 goals total. But I agree with you again. I'm on the over tonight anyways at 7. So 8 alternate goals. I mean, I like it. Hopefully we see 9, 10, 11 goals tonight. This is, backs against the wall for the Oilers. They need to put their best foot forward. I think Connor McDavid and the rest of those boys are going to have to show up tonight or else they're going to get swept, obviously.
Yeah, so bringing it over to Connor McDavid. I bet the under of 1.5 points. Again, don't know what I'm doing too much. Just offshore really likes it. Plus 115 on the under of 1.5 points. Any take?
Grant, when you say offshore really likes it, do you want to kind of elaborate on that?
Elaborate. So, I mean, there's multiple different sharp offshore sports books. So, pretty simply, in the U.S., you don't really have too many odds maker books, because there's an excise tax or whatever tax of like 0.5%. So essentially 0.5% of every single bet, and it's different between state to state, is given to the government. So if you have $1 million in bets, around $50,000 in tax is automatically done, whether you make profit or not. So offshore sports books that aren't really getting taxed tend to have sharper lines because they just are trying to get exact odds, and they just let people bet a lot of times however much they want. So they get a near perfect line where they have the 20% or 20 points of juice. so they know that they're going to make money regardless, and they don't have to worry about that tax. So looking at some offshore books, Pinnacle being the main one is the sharpest one I've seen. You kind of check cross-reference what Pinnacle has for a certain line, and you can find massive disparities. Like Connor McDavid, I think the line on his under was, or the no juice line was around plus 100, giving you roughly, if they have a perfect line, a 7.5% edge. So when I'm looking at offshore books, then it's real simple. Like I'm checking for drastic discrepancies, like figuring out the no juice line and seeing how much of a difference there is between the lines that I can find over on DK, FanDuel, Bet Rivers, all those. So, yeah.
Yeah, so I agreed with you for the first two. I wouldn't say I disagree on this one, but I hope that you're wrong in this because I hope Oilers extend this series. And I think the only way for them to extend the series is for Connor to have a big game, whether that's scoring the puck or assisting the puck. So without Evander Kane tonight, I do think Connor McDavid's going to play a little more minutes, especially if it's a close game. So we'll see, man. This is the sharper play, without a doubt. The under Connor McDavid, superstar unders. I mean, that's always the sharper play in general in all sports. But I just hope the Oilers make it a game. And if they make it a game, your over is going to hit over 8 goals. So I think at worst you're going to go 1-1 on that.
All right, and then last one I have for this game, maybe it's even for this game, I don't know. I don't know players' names. Leon Dristali. Can I get that right?
That was good.
Nailed it. Under 1.5 points, minus 150. It's just a high line. I mean, sure, the over of 0.5 points is probably sitting at plus 150, but the under of 1.5 points, minus 150, I think offers, according to offshore, a decent amount of edge.
Yeah, so this is he does play tonight. He's on the Oilers. He's one of their centers. Again, without Evander Kane, this guy may up more minutes tonight, maybe 3 or 4 more minutes per period. With that being said, I like this under a lot. He's just been overmatched by the Colorado Avalanche team. Both their defense and their center lines are just way better. It's hard. It's tough when you're an athlete, right? You're one of the best players in the world, but then you see 5 guys on the other side, and they're all better than you. And I think that's what's happening with Leon right now.
Yeah, I just checked out my NHL money, so I just started doing this during the playoffs, and I'm already up 5.7K.
Very nice.
And still don't know that many players, so
I'm gonna join that over with you. I'm already on the over 7. I'm gonna join the alternate over 8 as well. I like.
Yeah, no, the best line's over at MGM at 220, which is widely available everywhere. So that's a solid one. Then for tomorrow night, I have the Lightning minus 1.5 goals over at Superbook plus 160. They just seem to have a line that was like 15 points off of every other place.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Tampa Bay won 3-2 at the end of the third period yesterday. I do think they tie up the series 2-2, and the puck line is safe in my opinion. So I agree with 4 out of your 5 bets, man. Let's go.
Whew, that means I'm making money tonight. Ready to talk some baseball?
Let's do it.
All right, so first one, Blake Snell over 6.5 strikeouts. I mean, this guy has been
Bad.
in DFS. He's been one of my favorite and least favorite pitchers to roster since the beginning of last year. 30% K rate, 31.5 since the beginning of last year, so 30% this year. Walks everybody. Like, Mets are not a terribly high strikeout team, but they're definitely higher versus lefties than they are versus righties. 6.5 getting plus 115 juice on the over. I think that's a solid overall line. The bat agrees with me with it. What do you think?
I hope you're right. My favorite play of the day is going to be the Padres money line at home. It's a late game tonight. They're coming off some disappointing performances, and the Mets are coming off a really nice extra innings win against the Dodgers yesterday. So I think it's a great spot to fade them and a great spot to back the Padres. In order for the Padres to win, Blake Snell has to do well. So over 6.5 strikeouts, that may seem like a lot, but he is a strikeout pitcher. He could get that in 4 innings, to be honest, 3 or 4 innings. So I do like that. The only scary part is Carrasco, right? Carrasco on the Mets. He's having a great year so far. I think it's super I think there's going to be a really, really hard regression because I'm not a big fan of Carrasco, to be honest. So if he gets lit up tonight, maybe Snell doesn't go for those strikeouts as much, right? So those are some things that you have to think about. But pre-flop, this over 6.5 is definitely the play.
Yeah, well, speaking about Carrasco, on the other side, I have Carrasco over 4.5 strikeouts. Not a huge number. Like, he's
Hmm.
not a great strikeout pitcher, 21.3%. The main thing is the bottom of this lineup for the Padres is going to have a lot of strikeouts in it versus Rays. I mean, you're probably going to have Voit, Mazzara, Kim, Alfaro, and Grisham. All four of those guys, or all five of those guys, are high strikeout bats versus right-handed pitching. So while I don't think Carrasco does great in this spot, I think that 4.5 is a little bit too low of a number considering the plus 100 juice.
Yeah, I like it. Hopefully he gets the 5 and then gets blown up right after that. I'll be good with that.
All right, moving on to the next bet. We got Cleveland at Texas over 5.5 total first half runs over at FanDuel plus 124. Just like hitting weather is good there. I mean, if this game ends up playing, which I think it will, Roth thinks it will. Probably a bad line. We got Gray, who's been solid enough this season, going up against a tough Cleveland hitting lineup that's going to put the ball in play a lot. And then Quantrill on the other side, who's been awful so far this season, going up against a Texas team that has underperformed but does have a decent amount of power. And he's a guy that gives up a lot of fly balls, a lot of hard contact. What do you think about this going with the over first half, 5.5 total runs?
Yeah, first half bet is great here. That's when the winds are going to be blowing extra strong here in Cleveland. It's blowing, I think, straight right center at 15, 20 miles per hour, probably gusts up to 30. Storms are coming in later tonight, so there might be some issues late in the game. But first 5, it just means high winds. Those fly balls are going to continue to carry. I like it a lot. If you see the full game, the line moving from 8.5 all the way up to 9, all the way up to 9.5, depending on what you're looking at. I'm always going to side that way on the first 5 as well. So I like that bet a lot, Grant.
All right, moving on to a few bets I have here. Thor is really bad at keeping on runners. He's given up a ton of stolen bases. How many do you think he's given up this year in just 40 innings?
I don't know. I see it on the screen. 13. Wow.
Yeah, next closest is Alcantara, 10 in 72 innings. And then
Yeah.
Rodon, 8 in 55 innings. Like, those three guys have been the worst by a bit. Thor has been by far the worst. He's been the worst since like 2017, something like that. Just absolutely awful. So I got some stolen base bets here. Hoping that Duran is leading off here because I got his stolen base bet is over at plus 800. Just absolute silly odds. The guy has 11 stolen bases so far in the minors, has the platoon split, so decent chance of getting on here. Gonna run, like, if he gets a leadoff single, he's 100% running, I think. Like, it's just going to happen. Getting plus 800 over on Superbook, plus 700 over on DK. Like, how do the sports books have that line out there?
I think that's why you're Grant, man. You found a really nice edge there. Everybody who follows baseball, especially, the Mets in recent years, and now the Angels. Thor just, he doesn't really care about the runners on first. He should care more, and he should care more about the actual batters in the box, to be honest. But I agree. Like, I think that's a great value pick. Plus 800. Can't really go wrong with sprinkles like that. How many units are you putting on there?
I think it's like, I'm trying to get a full unit. It's just all how much
Nice.
I can end up betting. I'm actually going to see it. How much? Because the best line is plus 800 over at Superbook, and they only let you put $100 on. I'm going to see what DK. Well, let me show you on the screen. I'm going to see if DK will let me get 200 on it. I doubt it at plus 700 odds, but we'll see. And I think those are the only two places that I can bet on that have it out there right now. They let me get it on there. Nice. It's another
Nice.
$200 on Durant. Like, that's just one of my favorite bets of the day. It's just
It's
massive.
crazy value. Yeah.
Yeah, massive positive EV. Yeah, and then the other two, like, they're still pretty positive EV. We got Story over 0.5 stolen bases at 520, had 20 last year, has 8 so far this season. going to be betting a little lower down the lineup, but if he gets on, he's probably running. And then a long shot one, Franchi Cordero. The bat got me on this. Cardi's the bat. Plus 1280 over at Superbook, which he's not a big stolen base guy. Hasn't had a whole bunch of chances. I'll look up his numbers right now.
Yeah, on DraftKings, he's at plus 1200, so you're getting a great line there.
Yeah, so only like 9 stolen bases in his career, but that's 9 over the course of 178 games. So 12 plus 1280 for a guy that just lets everyone run. Like Cordero, he gets on base. He's probably still running just like everyone else. If Story gets on base, then Cordero gets on base. Probably a double steal coming, which would be real nice. But yeah, all three of those stolen.
That'd be amazing if you hit both on one play. I do have a question. So I've never really bet stolen base props. Do the steals still count when there's like a, what's it called, infielder indifference, when they just let him go?
I don't think so. No.
Okay.
No. Infielder indifference is not a stolen base if I remember correctly, but I don't know if I've had to deal with that. But I just know they don't count it as one. Let's see what other. I got one more bet, and then I think we got a few questions in chat. Minus 1.5 runs going up against Houston. Obviously, Houston, good team. Javier has been great so far this season, but Ray's the better pitcher. Yes, he has a decent platoon split, but there's a lot of lefties in this lineup. He struggled a bit this year, but has been better recently. Minus 1.5, getting it plus 260 over at FanDuel just seems like a silly number to me.
Yeah, I mean, so I lean on the other side when it comes to the side, but if you're looking at value, I agree with Grant here. If you like the Mariners, I would do them on the alternate line instead of the money line. Minus 1.5, you still have Robbie Ray, Cy Young winner. He had a slow start to the year, and Grant is right. Like, he's the last 2 starts, he's really picked it up. And if he can just perform like 80-90% of what he was last season, I think the Mariners are going to be pretty competitive tonight. So I do like that. The only thing with them is I feel like their hitting lineup is so black or white. Like, you'll have a game where they'll go 10 to 12 runs, and then the next game they'll get shut out. So to me, they're inconsistent. Grant's showing you some numbers there, but just from an eye test, I feel like the Mariners should have a better record. But at the end of the year, they're just going to be around 500 because they're so inconsistent.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I tend to just kind of throw those out the window. Giant variations. There are a few points where it ends up happening where you get a big lead early and you end up getting some bad bullpen arms and some position players end up throwing in there. But I mean, overall, if they're actually going up against good pitching and most of it comes early on in the game, over the course of time, it just happens to be random variants, in my opinion, that your brain just kind of connects to that. It's how all people work. It's kind of like going to a roulette wheel and seeing, oh, there was black 5 times in a row. Must be black again, more likely to be black, or reds do, or anything like that. And I mean, I could be wrong. Obviously, there's some people that believe in different things. Hot streaks, I believe, are a thing with individual players. Overall on teams, not as much. But yeah, I don't know how much I fully buy into that. But I mean, if they are putting up massive runs or no runs at all, that bodes well for my alternate line at minus 1.5. I just like the odds at plus 260 seem pretty solid. Got a few questions in chat. Javier over 5Ks tonight. I'm just going to check out the bat and see what they have projected there. Javier is set at 5.43. The current best line on it is at 5.5. Is 115 on the over, so plus 115 probably offers a very small amount of value. What do you think, AC?
Yeah, I think that line is screaming under, to be honest. We have a Houston team, Christian Javier, who's been pitching really well. I just mentioned kind of like the inconsistencies of the Seattle lineup there, and you would expect someone like Christian Javier with sub 2.5 ERA. He's had a great season so far. To have more than 5 strikeouts, the fact that it's juiced the under makes me like the under a lot, to be honest.
Yeah, the no juice line looks like it's about minus 123 on the under over at Pinnacle. If you want to go with the under, which I'm not on, I'm not against, then you go over at Fox Bet at minus 133 is pretty solid odds on the under if you want to go with that. But it's probably one that I'm just staying away from. Quantrill over 4.5 strikeouts. Let's see. The bat has it projected for 4 exactly. The odds on it is minus 105 on the over is the best line. I'd probably roll with the under, to be honest, there at minus 105 over at MGM. I mean, Texas is a decent strikeout matchup, but Quantrill has just not been striking out anyone this year yet. 15.1%. I know it's a high strikeout matchup, but the K's just haven't been there, especially versus righties, which are where a lot of the high strikeout bats are.
Agreed, 100%. And the Rangers, those numbers are kind of depressed, right? Because they played so poorly that first 2-3 weeks. The fact that they're playing so much better now, they're seeing the ball a lot better. And with the winds blowing straight right center tonight, Texas is going to try to make a lot of contact. So I don't think they're going to be striking out a ton tonight.
All right, and then last one, Aaron 007. Starling Marte is only plus 285 to steal a base on DK. He only has 7 all year. The under is at 0.5, minus 125 on the under. Is that crazy? Let me see. Marte going up against Snell. I can't remember how Snell, I don't think is a huge stolen base guy as well. He hasn't had a ton. What do you think of that bet? I'm going to look up some stuff real quick.
Yeah, on DraftKings, it has the over 0.5 stolen bases at plus 285, the under at minus 425. I know Snell has a slower delivery. He is a lefty though, so he's going to see you in his vantage point. I don't know. That one's tough. I would probably lay off. I think your what was it? That first one against Thor.
Duran.
Yeah, I think Duran. I mean, that could be a full step, full on go there at plus 800.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a better line. I'm looking at what the bat has. So Marte is actually the highest projected stolen base guy on this slate, right next to Duran, strangely enough, and Trevor Story. Nice. That makes me feel better about my bets. Yeah, I mean, I'd probably stay away just because he only has 7 on the year. I mean, realistically, that means he's on pace for 35. How far are we into the season? I don't even know.
30-ish.
Yeah, I wouldn't put too much thought into the fact that he has 7. There's 140 points of juice on this. I honestly, I think the line's about where it is according to the bat. The no juice line should be at plus 300, which I feel like is maybe a little bit high. My guess is the no juice line should be about minus 340, which is roughly where DK has it at. So I don't see a whole lot of value there.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that should do it. Any bets you want to throw out here before we get on out of here?
If you wanna just go on with your Blake Snell over and parlay that with a Padres money line, I think that's money.
All right, I like it.
That's my favorite play of the day is the Padres money line, and I love the over that you have on strikeouts.
Yeah, Eric asking what my favorite bet was. Probably Ratanen over 3.5 shots on goal at plus 125 at MGM.
Yeah, anytime you can get Avalanche players right now over shots on goal, you just ride it. They've just been on fire. I mentioned this earlier. It's like 2-1 in terms of shots between the Avalanche and the Oilers. So, yeah, just keep riding Avalanche players.
Nice. Well, let's go Avalanche. AC, it's been fun. We're out of here.